Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our panel discussion on higher education leadership models, impacts, and reasons. This panel discussion is within Al-Fanar Media Talks. I am Mohammad El-Hawary, the editor-in-chief of Al-Fanar Media, and I'm honored to be your moderator for this insightful session. Today, we are privileged to have with us two distinguished leaders in the field of higher education. Professor Dame Heather McGregor, Provost and Vice Principal of Heriot-Watt University Dubai. Heather brings a wealth of experience from her diverse background in investment banking, entrepreneurship, and academia. He has been a strong advocate to diversity and inclusion and has made significant contributions to higher education leadership. Nice to have you with us today, Professor Heather.
Thank you.
And Professor Reem Bahgat, President of Egypt University of Informatics. Reem has played a pivotal role in establishing EUI and has a profound background in computer science. Her leadership has been instrumental in driving digital transformation and innovation in higher education. Reem Bahgat was also a co-founder and deputy director of the Center of Documentarian of Cultural and Natural Heritage, affiliated to Politica Alexandria and supported by the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology. Nice to have you with us today, Professor Reem.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
In this panel, we will explore various leadership models in higher education, discuss their impacts, and delve into the reasons behind their adoption. We will also hear from our esteemed speakers about their personal leadership journeys, the challenges they have faced, and their visions for the future of higher education. We encourage you to engage with us with your thoughts throughout this discussion. There will be opportunities for audience questions, so please feel free to share your thoughts and queries. Let's begin our discussion. Please start from Professor Dame Heather McGregor. Leadership journey. Okay, you have a unique background that spans investment banking, entrepreneurship, and academia. How has your diverse experience shaped your approach to leadership in higher education?
Well, thank you. I think there's a lot of commonality between investment banking, being an entrepreneur, which I was for 16 years, and then working in higher education, because I find that in all of these areas, what my colleagues value is clear direction and being absolutely solid about where we're going, why we're going there, what are we trying to deliver to people, and to be consistent. So to be clear and to be consistent in our messaging, and communication is everything. So I have hoped to bring some of my leadership from investment banking, the many years I was an investment banker, and then my many years as an entrepreneur with me to higher education. I think the biggest difference is, though, that higher education is much more of a collegiate area. You don't lead particularly academics, and of course higher education is not just about academics. I employ about 300 people, and about half of them are academics in Dubai. I have 5,000 students in Dubai, and to support them, I need lots of academics, but I also need lots of people to ensure that they are enrolled, that they have support services, that they pay their bills on time. So there's a lot of other people to be leading, not just academics. But leading academics is a collegiate approach, and you can't run a dictatorship. And you need to engage and collaborate and consult. So it's a much more consultative style of leadership than I was previously used to. So that has had to be my adjustment. My adjustment has been that I've had to consult more and more widely with more stakeholders before making decisions than I used to.
Thank you a lot for this for these insightful thoughts, and really it's inspiring. This what you mentioned about this kind of consultancy. So it's really important. Also, we need to talk with Professor Reem Bahgat about the establishing of the Egypt University of Informatics. Okay, you played an important role in establishing Egypt's University of Informatics. What were some of the key leadership strategies you employed during this process?
Thank you very much for the question. First, I'd like to second what Heather has said, is that when you're leading academics, they are more colleagues. So it has to be, to a great extent, participation between us before taking a decision to some extent. But what I made sure, because we were establishing a new university, is first to choose the right people to join in the university. And from the administrative point of view, we chose actually young. So they have a medium experience, but they are enthusiastic. And we made sure that they understand the vision of the university, what the university is now, what it is heading for, what we want to reach. And if they buy it, if they get excited, then they are not coming for a job, they are coming to build. And what personally I was making sure, and I hope I succeeded in that, is that everybody is feeling that this is their baby. They are starting, it's like their startup, their baby, that they are trying to take it forward. And I hope we continue with this attitude as we grow. I don't know if we will continue with this attitude, but it's a beautiful environment to be in, that everybody is doing their best to achieve something. The other thing is always, and this is general leadership, is that it is always good to get the best from everyone according to their capabilities. And not to expect perfection, a perfect being, because we're all human beings. So what is good is that everyone will do their best and we complement each other. And I think this is very important in any organization, actually, not just the university. What we did also with the academics is to choose the right academics and to choose their experience to be coming from various backgrounds. So some of them are had their PhDs from Egypt. Some of them had their PhDs from abroad, and the ones who have it from abroad, we made sure to get it from that they got it from different countries. So they are coming with the different experiences, and all it is coming to enrich the experience of the student themselves. Another thing is that we are Egypt University of Informatics. So we are a specialized university in the fields of informatics. We're not the general university as other universities. And because it's a specialized university, so again, we made sure that everybody is using the technology well. And if they are not trained before, then we need to train them and to use the latest technologies, whether in teaching or in their work and so on. And to a great extent, we succeeded in that. So maybe one more point I'd like to add at the startup is always the difficulty when it comes to the financial part. You know, when a startup doesn't gain money, doesn't make extra money. I mean, it's basically you have to be careful with the cost. Yet you want to have the best experience for the students, and you want to get always the best staff, whether faculty or non-academic or academic. So it is this balance between spending, but not overspending, and spending in the right thing. So it's basically efficiency in the budget, and the budget use is very important.
Thanks a lot, Professor Reem, for this concepts about your leadership and establishing the Egypt University of Informatics. And I really will get back to you again to talk more about the university. But now I want to ask Professor Reem McGregor about diversity and inclusion. You have been a strong advocate for diversity in the workplace. How do you see diversity and inclusion impacting leadership models in higher education?
Thank you. I thought that Professor Bahgat actually just spoke very eloquently about diversity and inclusion, because she was speaking about deliberately choosing a wide variety of people with PhDs from all over the world, and bringing them in to feel included in their common goal of creating a new University of Excellence in Egypt, which was very inspiring to hear. I too look to have as inclusive an approach as possible. I'm known for my time as an entrepreneur in that I dedicated the profits of my business to establishing a charitable foundation in the UK to help minority ethnic young people, including many Arab young people, to get their first careers after university in the UK, because a lot of it is about having connections, and a lot of these people don't have those connections. Either because they come from a background where their parents are not particularly well connected, or because they don't even know how to access some of these careers. So the charity that I established looks to support young people in the UK from many minority backgrounds. And I do that because I think that, the population of any university, both staff and students, should be representative of the wider world, because real life is, as we all know, it is diverse, and so you need to create that at university so people are prepared for real life. I have 126 nationalities of students and 53 nationalities of staff. And the other thing about being inclusive is to really understand what everybody does in the companies that we lead, or the organizations that we lead in higher education. When I took up my post 2 years ago, the first thing I did was to spend my first 2 weeks going to do everybody's job. I went to every different kind of lecture, but I cooked for the students in the kitchen. I cleaned the bathrooms, the ladies' bathrooms. I worked on the IT help desk. I thought that was going to be about helping students who couldn't load their software or whatever, but actually the staff, it turns out, come to the IT help desk as much as the students. I did the security, watching a lot of CCTV cameras for a lot of hours, which is not very interesting, but it told me a lot about what students get up to. And I did find that it's much easier to be inclusive when you understand what everybody's job is about and how to include them in the university's mission. What I mean by inclusivity is, there's a famous story, isn't there, about John Kennedy, JF Kennedy, going to visit NASA and meeting the man who cleaned the bathroom. And he said to him, "What do you do?" And instead of saying to him, "I'm cleaning the bathrooms," he said, "I'm actually helping put a man on the moon." And that's what I want. I want what Professor Bahgat just described as a common purpose, is that everybody is pulling towards the purpose of the university, which is to create and disseminate knowledge and to help prepare people for the real world. So that is the approach I take to diversity and inclusion.
Thanks a lot, Professor Heather, because it's very important. Like what you really did is like leadership by example. So you give the example of this leadership, and this is important. When the World Economic Forum talked about the skills gap, the reports were talking about the skills that the people need to be in the job market. So it's important to be innovative, working under pressure to solve problems. So it's not something that you can always lean on universities to have from the curriculums, but actually it needs some kind of leadership more than curriculums. So thanks a lot for this point, and I will ask you for more about this actually. But there is something that I wanted to know from Professor Reem. It is related to digital transformation. Your background in computer science, how do you see digital transformation influencing leadership models in higher education?
Well, it's influencing actually all organizations and influencing leadership and influencing everything actually. Positive and negative, I must say, although I'm coming from this field, but we must say that. How it affects leadership positively, because you have more and more the tools to use to analyze what's happening in the organization. Financially, data of the students, what they are doing, the results, analytics from, you can actually follow the path of each student and see what's the progress. You have more and more tools also for automation, for doing many things. You have the learning management systems. And this is all affecting, I mean, positively the leaders, because everything is in your hand. So you can take decisions while you have more and more accurate data than you can depend on. So this is very, very useful. There is no harm. But I think digital transformation, as I said, it's affecting the whole education environment, like having the learning management system, having the digital libraries available for the students, in fact, it was very useful during COVID, for example, but it's also, in our case, we have students who are international athletes. And these students, they are always in the camps for their training camps all the time. And we wanted to encourage them to continue playing in the name of Egypt because it's good for them, but actually it makes them also more disciplined. It's actually very good also for the character. And to do that, what we have done, for example, is recording the lectures. We enforce the face-to-face lectures for most of the students, but in case there is somebody ill, in case that for the athletes, then they have the excuse. So we record the lecture for them. We can be flexible in their when they submit their assignments, the projects, the exam can be postponed for them through incomplete system and so on, and they can do the exam at another time and things like that. All this became possible because of the technology, actually, and the advancements of these, all the different tools that we have. So certainly digital transformation affected positively. The reason I said it affected negatively, if I can say that, it affected somehow all of us, including the students, but all of us, because we became more and more dependent on you know, the fast speed of reading. Somehow people got used to not reading books a lot, but reading digital books, reading digital publications, but also they got used to use more of social media. So so they read less, so their patience to listen to a lecture for a long period is much less. So also the lecturer needs to change their style of teaching by, you know, interrupting the lecture a lot in the middle by quizzes, by questions, by, you know, and or even becoming more student-centered, that the student would be studying the lecture on their own, searching for the information and from different sources, and then come and discuss in the lecture and so on. So it changed the style of teaching. Yes, it is good, it's going well, but still you can see that it's faster speed and a little bit less depth than it used to be before. I think this is the negative side that I can see, but you can see it even in us. I mean, I don't think I can read books for long. I need to change, do something else for a few minutes and then come back and things like that. While a long time ago, I used to read and read and read and read, and I don't mind, and I'm going into all the details and the depths. So it changed in me, it changed in the students.
Thanks a lot, Professor Reem. And actually, what you just mentioned, and also previously, Professor Hiter said about leadership by example. So we have here two kinds. We have activities to students that can afford this kind of leadership in the university. And we have also this athletes programs and supporting athletes, students, and to be a model themselves as leaders. So I want to talk more about this with the Professor Heather. Actually, is there any kind of activities, or what we can say extra curricular activities in universities that supporting models for leadership? If
Professor McGregor, are you with us?
Yes, I can you hear me?
So it's Mohammad El-Hawary whose network I think went down, yeah? Not us.
All right.
Okay, he will be coming back. I just wanted to make sure, is it me or it's him?
No, I was a bit worried because he suddenly went back. He started asking me a question and then he disappeared. All right. Hello, Mohammed.
We were talking about the activities that or extra curricular activities in the universities to support future leaders. What do you think of this, Professor Hitter?
Yes, well, of course, one of the most important things that you can do to support future leaders of students is to, first of all, help them to define their purpose and the impact they want to make on the world. And secondly, to give them the opportunity to do internships and get experience with industry. And I think these are two of the most important things. So every student that comes to study with us at the university in the whole world, not just in Dubai, but across the whole of Heriot-Watt. And Heriot-Watt is one global university. So whatever you study in one campus is exactly the same as this next campus. We don't have a separate limited company even in a separate legal entity in Dubai, not even. It's just another building rented from Edinburgh. And students can move around, and they do. You know, hundreds and hundreds of students every semester just pick up and move to a different campus. So we work with every student to help them almost develop their elevator pitch. So what do they want their purpose in life to be? What impact do they want to make on the world? What do they want people to say about them after they've worked somewhere? What is their passion? And what is their superpower, if you like? And people have got to be able to articulate these things if they are going to interview well and to get great jobs. In the UK, we were number 2 in the whole of the UK, 146 universities, for helping people to get great jobs. And the number 1 was Imperial. So I don't mind coming second to Imperial. Especially because we are very like Imperial. We are a science university with a business school attached. But getting students as they arrive to define how they see themselves and what impact they want to make on the world, it's kind of like a big picture thing for students. But getting them to think about this early really equips them well when they go and get internships, they go and get jobs, and it helps them to work out what they want to do when they graduate. And I think that's understanding purpose and ambition and impact. By helping students to do that, we can help them to develop leadership.
Thanks a lot, Professor Hitter, for this. And actually, all what we need all over the world is to have this kind of active citizens that can be positive to their communities, to face the global challenges such as climate change and lots of things actually we are facing now in today's world. But this is what I want to ask to also Professor Reem about investing in athletes and to have this kind of sports models, if we can say. And how can this could support the leadership?
I'll tell you about the athletes actually from my experience. We have a few of them actually. I mean, They're not all Ahmad El-Gindi who got the golden. This is one of them. He's very special. But we have a number of athletes. We have quite a number of students who play sports, but we have a number of athletes who play also and compete. And what I noticed, which is expected, they become more and more disciplined, especially that we are not, we are very serious university academically. So the demand on them academically is not small. And yet they're coming here and they know that, and they are competing academically and competing in the sports. So what happens that they're very disciplined. They wake up very early in the morning. They have their sport exercises, and yet they come to the classes and they are just like their colleagues, and they listen and they do everything very accurately. They do their assignments, everything. And this type of students, they don't have time to waste. They're really, every minute is important. This is one thing. The other thing I noticed is that they have a target that they want to achieve, and they go towards this target with a plan and slowly achieving their plan. So they don't daydream. They don't just dream, we want to be this and that. They actually work towards achieving their dream, and with a very clear plan. So in fact, the athletic part is creating a young man or woman very quickly, a very mature man and women very quickly. So I'm very impressed with what's happening in them. I mean, I'm very proud of them. But it's, of course, not only the athletes like this. You can find non-athletes also who know their target, who know what they want to achieve. And they also inspire their colleagues around them. And I could see this because as we started the university new, we wanted to make sure that the academic side is strong. So one of it is also to have strong students coming. So we gave full scholarship for a good number of the top ranked students in high schools in Egypt. And these students are competing a lot, and they really care for every mark and half mark, and they want to achieve something. But then what is good is that they inspire the rest of the students. So you can see the wave or the movement in the class that everybody is competing. It doesn't mean that they have to kill themselves in study. That's not what I mean. But I mean that everybody has a goal and they want to achieve it, or at least a lot of the students. Of course, not all the students, but a lot of the students. So it was a nice experience for me, because we were concerned that we will have top students and then we will have other students that may feel that this is too difficult for them. But this is not what happened. In fact, everybody just jumped into the boat and they were competing. So it was a very good experience.
Thanks a lot, Professor Reem. And when we talk about the challenges and opportunities and today's global landscape, so I want to ask Professor Hither for this. What are some of the biggest challenges and opportunities you see for higher education leaders in the current global landscape?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, I think, for leaders of higher education globally is the fact that the world is getting less global. So you're seeing in lots of different countries unbelievable amounts of restrictions going on with visas, for instance. Australia, which used to be a very open country for students, has been getting visas very difficult. Canada now has started to make getting visas very difficult. Even the UK they've stopped students bringing dependents now and things like this. I mean, I just think this is very, very short-sighted, I have to say. I'm very pleased to be in Dubai, where the Emirati government have a very positive and encouragement approach to students, and would like more students to be based, and 40% of my students come from outside the UAE. So I think that, but I do think this shifting sands of protectionism, if you like, it's not very helpful. To higher education should be a free good. People should be able to study where they wish, and on merit, and not based on visa accessibility. That's the first thing I think is a challenge. Obviously, artificial intelligence is a challenge. You heard Professor Bahgat talk about adjusting in the classroom to people with very short attention spans, which is very true. It's true of all of us in this digital age. We are nearly 20 years since the introduction of the iPhone in 2007. So it is a very long time now. There are whole generations that can't remember what life was like before you could scroll the internet in your pocket. And you have to have a teaching approach and an education approach that works for that, but also now one where you have to allow for the fact that they all have access to ChatGPT. And so your approach, for instance, to assessment has got to be totally different now than it might have been, even 5 years ago. So I think that the protectionism of governments and the arrival of artificial intelligence in a very accessible format, these are just two examples of truly global challenges that I think that leaders in higher education have to tackle. The other thing, by the way, is that I have found particularly difficult is the talent. Yes, Mohammed, you were on mute just then when you tried to speak to me. But what I was going to say was that the availability of talent. So there is a lot of academics think that they can't pursue an academic career outside of an Anglo-Saxon English-speaking existence, and getting them to come and work in an Arabic country is sometimes difficult. They want to be in the UK or the USA or Australia or whatever, or even China, and that's also a challenge.
Yes, and if we can talk also about another thing, which is, okay, we are talking about also the academic freedom itself. So, and even affording the context for leadership. So, if this also having some kind of challenges around the world, Professor Heather?
Academic freedom, I think, is a much abused term. I mean, to my mind, what academic freedom means is that people are able to research whatever gets them out of bed in the morning. Okay, so if you want to be the greatest academic who can write a brilliant piece of research on how to bake the perfect cake, then I should let you do that. Okay, I might want you to teach management accounting or something else, but if you want to write your 4-star papers on cake baking, then you go right ahead. And that to me is academic freedom, the freedom to pursue research in the area in which you wish to do. And I have not, my work, my academic research work, my personal research work is all to do with women and women in the workplace and women on boards. And I recently published the GCC Gender Index, looking at the gender representation of all women on boards in the GCC countries. And that's my sort of area, and no one's trying to stop me from doing that. That to me is academic freedom. If you're talking about free speech on campuses, this is, of course, a very controversial subject. I think that one of the great tragedies, actually, for Arab higher education leadership was the resignation a few weeks ago of Professor Shafiq from the presidency of Columbia University. I think Minouche Shafiq is a incredibly talented individual. I think she led the London School of Economics incredibly well. I think that Columbia were really lucky to get her. She was the first woman leader of Columbia. And she was there just at a wrong time, I think, and ultimately she's decided that she wants to do something else. But that wasn't about academic freedom. That was about, do you want people protesting, occupying your buildings, and how do you deal with it? And I think that is a very difficult challenge.
This is exactly what I meant, that already there is a lot of contexts and a lot of backgrounds that could affect the leadership sometimes, especially in the time of crisis and conflicts such as what we are facing right now.
Yeah, but I've always had Ukrainian students and Russian students. We have Israeli students. We obviously have a lot of Arab students. The daughter of the last Prime Minister of Palestine, who stepped down in March, graduated from my campus in Dubai in July this year. She came to us to do her master's degree. I want everybody to feel safe in a university environment, and for us to respect everybody's views. And I think education should be open to everybody, regardless of their nationality.
Exactly. Thanks a lot, Professor Heather. And I want to ask also Professor Reem, because what is our future vision, your vision of the future of the higher education leadership, particularly in the context of technological advancements and changing students' needs?
The change is very fast. By the way, my PhD was on artificial intelligence and logic programming and so on. And at that time, there weren't many people in the AI field and in Egypt. But the move of the ChatGPT has moved us all. It's a big change, and it will continue being fast and faster and faster in the change in our lives. So yes, it is changing leadership, but it's changing also the whole scene of the academia and what you are teaching the students and the style of teaching and the style of assessments and everything. And in our case as a university, since it's a specialized university in informatics, the fields that we are dealing with are fields that change very fast. So in fact, one thing that we say, we tell the students from day one, is that what you are learning with us after you graduate in a couple of years, things will change. So please expect that you have to have the talent, and we try to teach them this talent, or we try to ingrain in them the talent of lifelong learning. Really, they need to be students all their life. Since they decided to be in these fields, then they have to be studying all their life. They have to follow up what's the latest, they have to change, they have to learn, and this is if they want to work. In any field, actually, within our fields. The other thing that is good to see also with the technology, this is not leadership, but it is from the student and the graduate point of view, is that it is opening a lot of opportunities for them to work. In the old days, we used to finish our university and then we are looking for a job, either in a company or in the government or in university or school. Nowadays, it's different. This is one option, only one option. But the other options are tremendous. Professor McGregor is a specialist or has expertise in entrepreneurship. So this is one direction that they may decide to open their own startups. They work in this direction. If we give them the right skills and if they build the right skills and the right knowledge, then and if they have the right attitude, innovative ideas, then they can go in this direction. But then with the IT, since we're talking about the technology advancements, then there are a lot of platforms. Through these platforms, these graduates can offer their expertise and they can work remotely with companies abroad. They can work on projects abroad. And again, you're not only teaching the students the education in their specialization, but you have to teach them, or they have to train them, or to give them the skills for working in teams, and not just teams physically together, but teams actually that they work in different countries. And they are together in a project, but they are in different countries with different time and etc. And different cultures to start with. So the kind of learning environment that, or the education that you're giving, is not only the specialization anymore. It has to include the different skills that they need for work, but this is also one of the benefits of the technologies that they open these ideas. Now, the visa issue that Professor McGregor has mentioned is really a hindrance. But then to some extent, the technology and the internet and the different access tools are allowing us also to have professors from abroad, but they teach online. It's not the same experience till now, but still you can make use of others who are in different countries. And the same, the students are doing projects with students in other universities and collaborative work, etc.
Thanks a lot, Professor Reem. And I received questions on our Facebook page. We have a message. It's really a question for you, both of you, to Professor Hither and to Professor Reem, about women empowerment. So it's you know, when we talk about women academia that are on top of the higher education institutions. So it's maybe it's a challenge itself. So what do you think, Professor Hither, about this?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? You're interviewing two women here who are in positions of ultimate leadership, both of us leading universities in Arab countries with an strong Islamic culture, and nobody has tried to put a man into our place. You know, Professor Bahgat and I were both chosen for our jobs, fair and square. You know, there was, and I think that the opportunity for women in higher education is every bit as strong as it has been for a while. I mean, people, I think, believe that because I work in an Arabic country, that for some reason that this gives less opportunities to women, and this is absolute rubbish, of course. So and in fact, the other big university big British university in the UAE is Birmingham, and that's led by a woman as well. So in fact, I think that you know, there is absolute parity in terms of higher education leadership between the genders in Arab countries, and I can speak for many universities around the GCC, even in Saudi Arabia, which might have been more traditional historically, where there are opportunities for women in leadership. So I'm afraid I don't see that there are these barriers. I think the barriers exist in the minds of some people in non-Arab countries who have maybe never visited, and maybe they just are ignorant. So I like to think that there are opportunities, and we have many women on the staff, and obviously, you know, 50% of my students are women. So I think that there aren't the restrictions. What I do think is the reason I've worked so hard to support women and women's career advancement, I wouldn't call it empowerment. I don't think there's an empowerment problem. I think that sometimes there are disadvantages. I've raised a family myself. I have 3 sons, and it was a fight and a struggle to be a mother and a wife and to have a career at the same time. And I didn't always balance that very well. And I wish I'd had somebody like me to support me on the way up and say, look, it's going to be all right in the end. And that, I think, it's tough. I think it's harder for women than it is for men, because I think we are the caregivers in many instances, and that it's a difficult balance. But I don't think it's a matter of empowerment. I think it's a matter of opportunity. And I think opportunities in higher education in Arabic countries are very, very wide.
Thanks a lot, Professor Hater, because this is exactly what I really liked about the question, because we are always having this kind of questions in the especially in the Arab world. So it's obvious that it's all about opportunities. It's we need to change the mindset as you mentioned, because it's yes, we are talking about a gender gap around the whole world, and especially in the Middle East. It's about one of the recent reports I was exploring, and they were talking about 134 years that we need to close the gender gap in the Middle East. So it's really about the mindset. It's really about the opportunities. No one is therefore on a gender based, but it's about
Mohammed, I hope this is just you
the
disappearing.
skills, about the what we have to the fit within a job or not. And this is also what I want to ask Professor Reem actually, um, because I know that being here also in Egypt, maybe you have this kind of questions, and some people are always exploring what about a woman and on the top of a university, especially like the Egypt University of Informatics. What do you think about this, Professor Reem?
Actually, I second every word that Professor McGregor has said. Personally, I didn't face any problem in the past, neither now, somehow, to a great extent. I didn't see any resistance from me being, first I was the Dean of Faculty of Computing at Cairo University. At some period, I stayed there for 6 years. And also other posts, but I'm talking about the academic part, and also now the president of the university. I don't think I faced any resistance. Partly, I don't have it in mind. The idea of a man and woman, I just don't have it in mind. For me, it is the person capabilities and what that person is doing, and doing his or her work properly, and even more, and excelling. So maybe because I don't have it in mind, then I don't face it. I don't know, but I never faced it. But I like to take maybe another thing to mention, which is a different direction a little bit. Normally, it's not in all cases, woman leader would take the direction of handling things in a softer way, on a diplomatic more way, with the colleagues, with the subordinates, with everybody. Unless it is a situation when you have to be really stand very strongly and firmly. Otherwise, it's always done in a soft and diplomatic way. It's a style that you find it more in women, and they're more having this perseverance, and they are more enduring or coping with situations more than a man actually. This can, in certain problems or certain situations, it can take longer to solve the situation because of the style of leadership. But when it is solved, everybody is happy because of this soft way. Then you are gaining more and more the voices of everybody to come with you in the direction that you want to go for. Now, men leadership normally, again, it's not always, is more firm, stronger, taking the decision much quicker. So it is a bit difficult that they get everybody on board with their decision. I mean, they do, but not always, because they are more in a harsher way of decisive, more stronger, and things like that. I mean, a woman is decisive, but is taking the soft way of putting her decision on the table somehow. So this is a style, and this is a style. And sometimes you need this style, sometimes you need the other style. So what is good is that a woman learns that she has to be firm and strong when something has to be done fast, when she cannot buy the opinions of the others or get them on board, and she just have to take a decision because this is the only way for the situation to pass. And a man needs to learn to be more softer, somehow more democratic when taking the decision, especially in the academia, because they are really colleagues. They are not subordinates in a way. So, I mean, different styles, but everybody is good if they can manage the balance. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Professor Reem. We have one last question from Mrs. Nadia Al-Gouili, Al-Fanar Media's Executive Director. So it is really to both of you here. How are your respective universities adapting their teaching methods, assessment strategies, and academic integrity policies to address the challenges and opportunities presented by ChatGPT and similar AI language models in higher education?
I would say to that you do have to have its new assessment strategies in particular. I personally really encourage my students to learn to use ChatGPT. I mean, our policy is to teach them how to use it because when they get to the real world and they get to work, you have to learn how to use this to free up your time. I mean, a very good example of it is I teach my MSc students when they're doing their literature searches to go to ChatGPT and say, right, what are the top 10 cited articles on, recruiting hospitality people in the Middle East or whatever it is that they're writing a dissertation on, and to use it as a tool to support them. But you can absolutely tell if someone's using it to deliver you written work because and the way to assess that, of course, is to do things orally and in person. Right back at the beginning, Professor Bahgat was talking about the importance of face-to-face tuition. Technology is a wonderful thing. You can beam professors in from all over the world, but ultimately, it's the quality education that people are paying for, that people are traveling to different countries for, is proper interperson interaction. They can stay at home and get everything online. That's possible now already. They want proper in-person interaction, and you can assess in person in a way that means that someone can use AI to develop their learning, but they have to account for themselves in person. And in terms of academic quality has been a concern of all universities right from the get-go. I don't think AI is just the latest the latest thing. Google Translate was around long before everybody had ever heard of ChatGPT. So and Grammarly and all of these things are really AI related. And actually the actual thing that, I'm sorry if you've got a disturbance in the background here. The thing I was going to say about AI though is that if you teach with it and you teach people to use it properly, it's going to be the great enabling tool. It's going to set a person apart when they arrive at their job and they already know how to use it.
Thanks a lot, Professor Hither. And what about you, Professor Reem? What do you think?
The same. You can't stop it. You cannot stop students from using it. So, I mean, it's just hitting our head to the wall if we do that. So the idea is that, in fact, encourage them to use it as a support tool, but not to their assignments or their exams. Even for their assignments, yes, they can use it as a supportive tool, but what they submit is their thinking and their idea and what they reached. And this we can evaluate. And as Professor McGregor said, I mean, it can, through the face-to-face oral sort of discussions, you can discover. But also sometimes it's students, if they use ChatGPT, it can be too basic answers. Please notice that ChatGPT is improving, but it's not yet the best. Yes, you can discover so far. And the other side that I want to say, or the other thing that is good, is that tools are now getting created to discover ChatGPT articles or its use. For plagiarism, we had tools a long time ago, and now we have tools for ChatGPT to discover this. But they are not yet advanced enough as well, so they are getting created. So we will reach a stage when you can actually just pass the assignment to a tool, and you will know if it is through ChatGPT or not. But using it is good. It's like using calculator. I mean, in the old days, we used to use our mind and hands for all the calculations possible. Now we all use the calculator immediately. So we should allow this. We cannot stop it. And we just go into a more advanced stage in our assignments, in tests, in what we want our students to know, and so on.
Thanks a lot, Professor Reem. We are really running out of time, so I want to apologize to Gilgamesh. He want to ask a question here, but maybe we already mentioned this questions before, and I want to express my deep respect for our distinguished speakers. Your thoughts were very inspiring and insightful. Thanks a lot for being with us today on behalf of the Al-Fanar Media team. And I want really to thank you, Professor Dame Heather McGregor, Provost and Vice Principal of Heriot-Watt University Dubai. Thanks a lot. I want also to thank Professor Reem Bahgat, President of Egypt University of Informatics. Thanks a lot, Professor Reem. And I want to extend my thanks to our amazing audience. Looking forward to have you again in our upcoming panel discussion from Al-Fanar Media Talks. This panel and all our panels on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. It was really an honor to be with you tonight. I'm Mohammad El-Hawary, and I want to see you soon. Stay safe, and really, I enjoyed this session again. Thanks a lot for being with us today, Professor Heather and Professor Reem, and all our wonderful audience. Thanks, and
Thank
see you
you.
soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
very much. Thank you. Goodbye.